So we had law of sines yesterday. Remember law of sines?
Yeah.
That wasn't too long ago. Why did we need to use law of sines? Henry?
Because it was the opposite of hypotenuse that we knew, so.
Oh, you mean when we proved it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But when we use law of sines, do we have to have a right triangle?
No.
No.
You have to have the same angle and
Good. So you have to have the same side across from an angle in order to use that. So law of cosines, we don't necessarily have to know a side and an angle that are opposite of each other. Okay, so law of cosines can be used when you know either two sides in the included angle. So this, we kind of think of this as like side angle side. So if I take any triangle, and let's say I know, I'll just put in numbers just for as an example. So let's say I have this is 60 degrees, and let's say I know this is 10 and this is 11. So if you have this information, so you know the two side lengths and the angle included. Remember the angle included? Right? Okay. Basically, you can apply the law of cosine. So when you have side angle side. The other one is when you know all three sides. In other words, if you don't know any of the angle measures, you can apply law of cosines.
I don't get how you can apply sine and cosine.
No. I'm saying you know. We're not talking about congruent triangles. I'm just saying when you know two sides and the included angle. When you know all three side lengths. So if I know this is 12, 13, and 14 or something like that, you can figure out the angle measures just based on the side lengths. We can't use law of sines for this because we don't know the opposite, a side opposite to the angle that's given. In this one, we don't know any of the angles, so we wouldn't be able to use law of sines. So we have this other law of cosines that we can use. It looks complicated.
Oh
Super
my
duper complicated.
gosh,
Okay. It's really not that, once you see how, when we apply it a few times, it's not complicated. Okay, it just looks complicated when you first look at it. You really just need to know one of them. These are all the same formulas, just solving for different sides or angles. Yeah, let's look at the first one. It looks like a squared equals b squared plus c squared.
What about the minus 2b?
Minus
Minus 2bc. So basically, if you have side A, remember the lowercase letters represent the sides. So if you have one side squared, it equals the other two sides squared minus 2 times the two sides BC or B and C times cosine of the angle opposite. That's a lot of stuff.
Can you draw a triangle and show us like at least there are no fractions?
Oh, I get it. Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
get it, but it's like,
Yeah, I got
I need
it.
a drawing.
Okay, the way you need to draw it. Well,
Like when would we need to find A? Like you know what?
okay, I hear what you're saying. And there's a quick note here. When you have side, just a side note, let your angle, let C equal the largest side and solve for angle C first. You'll see where that will apply. But let me give you, let's say this is 50, this is 10, and this is 8. And let's say this side, I'm going to call this X.
The angle's 50, is that what it
50. So notice I didn't put in A, B, C, just so we could see how this formula works. So again, this side and this opposite angle, one of them is going to be missing basically. So in this case, it's the side, but I know the angle across from it is 50 degrees. Okay.
Oh, this is
So
why
this
these
is
two
going to
things sound-
be
yeah,
x squared
this makes sense.
equals, and then it's gonna be 8 squared plus 10 squared minus, now it's gonna be 2 times these same two sides, so it's gonna be minus 2 times 8 times 10 times the cosine of 50.
Why is it,
Basically
But minus-
basically what I'm saying is that, remember what I said about law of sines, you have to have an angle and a side directly opposite to each other? With law of cosines, you're not going to have that, you're gonna be missing one of them. And that's gonna determine the placing of, you know, what you're substituting in for.
Yes, I have a really simple question. So, would you do 2 times 8 first or 8 times? You would do 2 times 8
It doesn't,
first, right?
okay, so how would I plug this all in? If you have the graphing calculator, and actually most of your scientific calculators, you should be able to plug this all in at once. So I would just type in 8 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 8 times 10, and then times the cosine of 50 degrees. Like, just type it all in at once. If you don't want to do that and you want to do it in parts, that's fine, but,
I got 61.
okay, so you get 61. Now remember, what is that equal to? That's your x squared. So how would you figure out side x? Take the square root of that, and that it ends up giving us what, 7 point, what is it, like 7 point,
do you want us to round?
No, it's 61.2. Yeah.
oh, 61 point, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Gosh, Miss Case.
I know,
we were just-
7.8. There. So did you see how we applied the formula to that, even though it didn't have an A, B, C involved? Okay with that?
Okay.
Okay. Now, sometimes you're missing the angle measure, so I'll also show
So you just
how
add
to apply.
And the opposite.
You would have like
You would have to
cosine of
find
x,
it.
exactly. Okay, so, first thing we want to do, look at the first example. Would you use law of sines or law of cosines to solve the right triangle? So just look at the triangle, law of sines or law of cosines? Cosines, because we have side, angle, side. So this is definitely,
How do we know which one to use?
okay, how do we know which one to use? Anybody?
I say,
Yeah.
if it gives you like an angle and then if it gives you the opposite, then you do sines, like if it gives you the opposite. Like
Okay, if you have a side and an angle opposite each other,
Okay.
then you could, I would go right to law of sines, because I think now that you see law of cosines versus law of sines is a little easier.
Actually, I think
So,
this one's easier.
You think this one's easier?
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah,
Miss
I
Mason?
think the law of science.
Wait,
yeah.
Miss Mason.
Okay.
Wait, I like law of science.
This one's better.
So-
Wait, Miss Kasich, when do you use? So I know like when you use a squared equals b squared plus c squared, but when do you use b squared equals a squared plus c squared?
It's all the same formula.
Oh, so you can use either one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Now, sometimes, if we have to solve the triangle, once we use law of cosines, we may need to go, we could go back and use law of sines from there. Remember, what does solve the triangle mean? It means we want to figure out all the missing angles and the missing sides. So we don't have enough information to find out angle S and angle R. So we have to find little t, oops, first. So these are the 3 missing pieces. Right, remember, solving the right triangle, there's always going to be three things that you know and 3 pieces missing. This is little s, and this is little r here. So how would we set that up? So remember, we're going to use this angle, so this is going to be the variable we're looking for. What would you do, Jordan?
T squared equals 11 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 11 times 10 minus cos of
Times?
38.
Times cos of 38.
Is for this problem, do we have to let C the largest equal the largest?
No, that only comes into play when it's when you have the 3 sides and you don't know the angle.
Oh.
Okay, so again, this is where I would just plug everything in. So we have 11 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 10 times 11.
If we mess up on this part of it, would we mess up on the rest of the problem?
Yeah. So when I grade this, like, what I would do is if you got the wrong answer for this, you'd lose some points. But then if you solve the rest correctly using the wrong answer, you get credit for that.
So it's like a proof. You can still
I mean,
get
that's pretty much
points
how
for-
math is in terms of, I know you guys won't be in AP Calculus till you're seniors, but in AP Calculus, that's how they grade, like these types of problems. Where if you mess up on the first part, they take off points there, but then if you keep going using that wrong answer, but you do the next steps correctly, they don't continue to dock you points. So I'll do the same. I'll do the same on the test.
That's also
Okay. That's a good deal. So what do we have? 47.6. So,
Point nine.
all right. So now that we know this, now we have a side and an angle opposite each other, which means we can now go through the rest of the problem, law of sines. Now, we really only have to do law of sines one time, because as soon as we find one of these angles, right, then we could find the third angle because they have to add up to 180. Okay, so how would we set this up with law of sines? Ilan?
38 sine
Okay.
equals over 6.9
All right, equals.
equals sine
Okay, so we can pick whichever angle you prefer. Doesn't matter. R or S.
R over 11.
Good.
I think log cosine.
Yeah.
So does it matter if the sign's on
You do.
top or on bottom? When you set it up?
Technically, it doesn't.
It doesn't, okay.
As long as you put both the signs on the bottom and both the sides.
Because on the homework I did it on the bottom, and then I
It's,
thought I got
and
it.
it comes out the exact
Okay,
same.
yeah.
Because it's still gonna give you the same proportion
Yeah.
when you cross multiply. Okay, so when we cross multiply, what are we gonna have? 11 times sine of 38 over 6.9. So go ahead and plug that all into your calculator. Remember, we're solving, so we wanna get sine of r by itself, and then because we're trying to find the angle measure, we have to press what button on the calculator?
And
The -1, the inverse. Okay. When do we click the inverse? So, here, we have 11 sine of 38, close the parentheses, divided by 6.9. So we get 0.9815. What did I say it was? 1.15.
So you saying there's
Remember, when we get to this point, we want to go to 4 decimal places. Some of you may plug it all into your calculator at once. I actually went back and did the screencast over, so if some of that was unclear about law of sines, something happened when I paused it at some point and I lost the rest of the screencast. So I did redo the screencast from yesterday. But, oh, actually, you didn't see it online? On the
Yeah, it wasn't
screencast?
there.
Oh, I wonder if I posted it in the wrong class. That would be funny. Because I was posting stuff on my AP Calc. Okay, we'll figure it out.
Well, they
Anyway.
were in here for the lesson.
What's that?
They were in here for the lesson.
Yeah.
maybe they needed help.
All right, so another way you could do this, I talked briefly about storing values in your calculator. If this was your last answer, you can just do second and then a negative sign. I'm just saying so you don't have to type it all in over again. And then just press enter, so it'll take the sign inverse of that previous decimal. Yeah, you would just round to 79. So that's gonna be,
Oh, that's so cool.
Now you know.
yeah, you could do that on the scientific calculators also. That answer, okay, so that answer, it's kind of like stored here. But But as soon as I do another calculation, that becomes my new answer, if you will. So like for, yeah. So then what I could do, like, I could do 180 minus 38 minus that answer, which would plug in the 79 degrees or approximately, and we get about 63 degrees. Good? Oh, the approximate? I'm not too picky about that. If you want, that's fine. Because it is an approximation, but if you want to just put equals, I wouldn't take off on it. Okay, let's look at the next one. No, it's just the process. You just have to make sure that you do the right steps.
It's a lot of plugging in.
I know.
I want one example.
So on the test, you'll see I can't give you like 5 of these problems. It would take you, that would take up the whole test. So,
So cool.
all right, let's just draw a triangle here, H, J, K. So J, little j is 44, little h is 54, and measure of angle H is 23. So you'll see some of these problems on homework tonight where you might not even, like this one, which law would you use here? Law of sines or law of cosines? Sines, because I have an angle and a side opposite each other. So you don't need to use law of cosines here. This is just law of sines. Well, I want you to be able to correctly identify and then go through. So what's that going to look like? Sine of 23 over 54 equals, which angle do we have to find? Okay. What's that?
So why do we have
Oh,
to
I didn't do what we need. You're right. Let me go back.
Why do we have to
How do
solve
you
the
know
J?
that side is 8? Like, what do you mean choose like down?
You know how I write down what we need?
No.
I didn't put that in. So we need angle J,
Oh,
angle K.
you couldn't have figured that out.
Wait, why do we need to find angle J first? Why can't we find angle K first?
No, we can't find K.
Oh, because it doesn't have a value.
Right.
Inside.
So we cannot find angle K or side K because both of those are missing. So remember, we're always kind of matching up angle and side opposite. Okay, is that better? Now you can write sine.
Now you can break it well.
Somebody want to do it?
Yeah.
I'll do it.
I didn't know I wanted to. Okay.
Okay, don't do it yet, but
But I'll do it.
What? I've never done that.
Wait, I'm doing the wrong one.
I don't know the 0.2 works for angle measurement.
Very small time, yeah. 18.6.
It's dividing. I got point three
It's, yeah, it's 0.318. 0.3184.
That's a point.
That's what I got. That's what I got. Wait, did you let me do second to do that?
Oh, yeah, you do.
18.6?
Yeah.
I can explain it. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, it's okay. It's my scientific calculator.
Oh, I could show everyone.
Oh, you didn't put the parentheses after. Actually taking the sign.
Wait, what? How'd you do that?
I don't know.
Oh, just click the X.
How did she get another?
Oh,
how did
she's
she
gonna
get
do
It's
that?
showing the history of it.
Okay, that's fine.
Awesome.
It's just, I have a scientific
she get to the that one?
Right, so it actually does record that you can record.
So
Um, it's not so necessary for your class, but when you get to Algebra 2, there's certain things that you do on your graphic calculator. And you can record like what buttons to push. So like if you're trying to find like a maximum point on a graph, you can like follow the steps so you know what to press on your calculator.
That's cool. But that's cheating.
Okay, so we got J is 18.6. What's that mean? 138.4. Okay, so now we can do sine of 23 over 54 equals the sine of 138.4 over little k. Does somebody want to do that?
Yeah, can I do it?
Next one.
What shade?
I got it. Wait, how'd you get 138.4?
Where can someone do that in that class? No, I need someone to do that.
And it should be pretty big. It should be a big answer because look how small these
What,
angle
Jordan?
measures were.
I got 14. How did you get that?
Oh, I did do it right. I just wrote the answer. Also, I thought I did it wrong, but I put the decimal wrong.
I got that on my end.
I got that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. 91.8?
Yeah.
Good.
Wait, you didn't get the right answer on my calculator today?
I didn't get. Okay, I think this is. Do we have more? Oh wow, there's a lot of them.
And there's more on the other page. Do not do all of them. This is a lot of them.
Okay, go ahead and draw example 3. We have to get through at least one more with law of cosines with where you have 3 sides because we haven't done that one yet. Maybe what we'll do is we'll get through this example and then we'll take a look at the homework and then maybe I can finish the last 2 on the screen test.
No, I'd rather.
You want to just do examples?
Yeah, I'd rather just finish it in class.
Okay.
Oh, this is.
All right, so there are no angles. So H, J, and K. We have little h is 13, little j is 16, little k is 22.
You need to find like the
Now.
numbers that are.
Identify the largest side, that's K.
Is that right?
So I am going to use, right, that's going to be like our C. So this is going to go on the left side of our equation. So let me just, I like to use the C squared one personally more than the other. Well, I like it because it looks like A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Minus, but then minus 2AB times cosine of C. Remember, these two have to match up. The cosine of the angle has to match up with the side that's on the left. Okay, so basically, where I have C is really going to be my K for the problem. Okay, so it's going to be 22 squared equals 13 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 13 times 16 times cosine of angle K. Now, I often see mistakes because students forget to use proper order of operations. So be very careful. Let's This is one that we cannot just, well, you can plug it all into your calculator at once, but I don't want you to for at least. So what do we have to do first? We have to do parentheses, or in this case, it's gonna be exponents, because we really don't have any grouping symbol. So figure out 22 squared, what's that? And what's 13 squared plus 16 squared? That you could do in one step. And then what's this? Now, the most common mistake I see is that students will subtract 425 minus 416. But you can't do that because 416 is multiplied to cosine of k. So we're actually going to subtract 425 from both sides. Okay, what's 484 minus 425?
That, okay, that two. That's what they're saying.
59. Now I have to divide both sides by negative 416. Okay, we're trying to isolate the cosine of k. Bless you. Now we're going to get some decimal here. That's fine.
Negative 0.10.
You actually don't even need to change it to a decimal if you don't want, but
It's a lot easier.
yeah, I probably wouldn't change it to a decimal, but that's fine if you did. It's negative 0.1418. Remember, if you're going to change it to a decimal, go to 4 places. Whenever you're working within the problem, you go to 4 places, and at the very end, you can round to the 10th. And now I want to do cosine inverse of negative 0.1418. Yeah, so we're going to do second cosine of that answer, 98.2. Oh, and I didn't write out what we're missing here. So it's K, J, and H. So we have 98.2 degrees. Okay, now that we have an angle to work with, see, the whole point is that for law of cosines, you use it one time, and then you pick up law of sines to finish the problem.
So the thing about this that is confusing to me is that there's no way to know if you're right or not because the numbers are so really big. Like normally you can see if it makes sense or not.
And these are kind of really
Is
strange.
there any way you can check it or is it just?
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, you can just kind of look at when you get your answers. So for example, this is an obtuse angle, 98.2. So it should be opposite the largest side. Remember how you look at like the smallest angle is opposite the smallest side and the one in the middle is opposite the middle side. So you can check to make sure in terms of that it makes sense, but otherwise I know that it's not, you can do Pythagorean theorem to check because it's not a right triangle. So I know, that's the tough part. Okay, what do you want to find next? Angle J or angle H? It doesn't matter.
J. I heard more J.
Okay. So it's going to be sine of 98.2 over 22 equals sine J over, how about 16?
16. Right.
That's what he meant.
It's early.
It doesn't matter. You'll get the only thing, you may come out, so like, you might get like a tenth of a place off, but it's okay.
Oh my god.
So it's 16 times sine of 98.2 divided by 22. What do you get? Oh, that was what you got for the angle? That's fine. 0.7. I'm sorry, I missed the 0.799.
Wait, hold up. Because it was 3 7, so then that would be 4.
So what's the angle measure?
No, but how is that? How'd you round that up? It's 7 3. Because you round that, it would be 4.
I didn't answer. 46 point,
46 point,
point 046.
what did you guys get?
46.
So just 46.0? Okay. So if you get 46 for J, then what do you get for H? What do you get for the last angle? They all have to add up to 180. 35.8. All right.
Approximately how many of these
Because this just takes a long time.
I know. Trust me.
I understand.
Is this something that's going to carry over to algebra 2? Or is this one of those things that
No,
we're never
you
gonna
need
see
to
yet?
know law of sines. These topics that we're learning in chapter 8, you will get again when you get to algebra 2.
There's a lot of things that we don't get. This is one of the sections.
No, this is going to show up next year again. Same for law of sines. Same for pre-calc.
Is there a lot of tangents?
SOHCAHTOA is going to show up every single year.
Is there a lot of tangents?
Okay, so L
This is left out.
is 6.3, N is 6.7, and we don't know M, and this is 55.
It's so much better when we have an angle.
Okay, this is side angle side, so this is going to be law of cosine. So what do we need? We need little m,
No, I'm not doing that.
angle L, and angle N. Right. So here's what I need to do. Here's the angle and the side opposite. So when I think of law of cosines, this is the side that I'm going to solve for, and I'm going to end up taking the cosine of that 55 degrees. Okay. They're all the same equation. It's basically just saying, even though we're not, so in law of sines you have to know this side, but in law of cosines we're either going to be solving for the missing angle directly across from the side, or we're solving for the side directly across from the angle. So this is M is like our C squared equals A squared, but so it's going to be 6.3 squared plus 6.7 squared minus 2.
Will we have this equation on the final test everything else? No. We have to know it.
Yeah, you do need to know this. Allie?
16, 19, 23, 35, 27.
What?
Can we just take out 27?
That's weird that it went out of order. I might have gone back and added it. That's strange.
Can we just take out 27?
Yeah, let's take out
It really upsets me, so let's just take it out. Who was the guy that came up with this? Like, hey, I'm gonna try 6.3 squared.
I have a theory that people who created math ones, people who later teachers.
No,
It's true.
Did you get 6 for M?
Yeah, I got it. How did you guys get this?
So remember, when you have side angle side, this is the easier one. Side angle side is just plugging all the computation part into your calculator and then taking the square root of the answer. And it comes out to like 6.01 or something like that, but again, just round to the 10th place. So now that we have one of these sides, we could do sine of 55 over 6 equals, and then we could do sine of n over 6.7, or you could solve for L, it doesn't matter. So sine of n is going to be 6.7 times sine of 55 over 6. And then n is going to be the inverse of that answer.
Maybe you should have passed this so I understand it.
Oops. Wait,
Do you
it's
have a
trying
hard
to-
time with that?
I just need to move it over.
I'm glad Miss Carly forgot to watch this
talking about how this is all recorded. That's right. god, Allie, it's recording again. She's starting to take over for you.
Oh wait, did I make a mistake here? Hold on, did I make a mistake somewhere?
What? Never mind. Allie, you didn't do anything wrong. Didn't. Blank camera.
Oh, I know. I forgot. I forgot my decimal. No, I forgot my decimal. So I'm gonna just go back and put in my decimal point. So if you know how when you type something in and it doesn't, sometimes you miss something or you get a little mistake. If you press second and then enter, it'll pop up the last entry, so I don't have to type it all over. And then I'm gonna do second, delete, and you can insert a decimal place. That's all.
Yeah, but don't you have... Oh, does that make it extra space?
Yeah, so you know when you see how it blinks on differently? I can put a decimal and it doesn't, you know how like when you go back and you type it replaces it? This inserts a, it's kind of like it inserts a space.
If I knew about that, that would have saved so much time. It only changed
Wait a minute, how did you do that? You click second and then what?
Second delete.
Second enter, oh, second delete, well, see where it says INS insert?
What does that do though?
That would have saved so much time.
What does that do?
It adds a space in between the numbers.
So?
So like
Okay.
you did 67 and you meant to do 6.7, it adds the space for the point.
So,
So like you could just go back and add it?
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
okay, so yours is put yourself for L first. That happens sometimes. That's okay. Don't worry about it. What did you get for L next?
I got 50. Yeah.
What was L? Anybody?
58.8.
Oh yeah. I was fast for it.
Corey's the real MVP.
So I just kind of like almost like a Bluetooth headset. I needed to walk around with a Bluetooth headset, and then I'm gonna pick up my voice, but nobody else.
Yeah, and like you can like click the button to make
Look at this case, look what I did with this use pencil.
so excited.
Made it interesting.
Oh, okay.
Now she can hang it in 5, 6 different places.
Okay, this one is side, side, side. Okay, so I'm going to choose the largest side, which is M. So that means I'm going to look at finding angle M. So it's going to be cosine of, or sorry, not cosine of M. That's going to go on the other side. It's going to be 20 squared equals 17 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 17 times 14 times cosine of M. Sorry, my big M's look the same as my little M's. They're just bigger.
My big M's look like my little M's are just
Well,
bigger.
it doesn't look like a capital. That's just the way I make my M's.
No.
So might have just been the best sentence you've ever said.
My big M's don't look like my little M's, but
Well,
they're just
don't they look the
bigger.
same? Just
I'm
one is
really
bigger.
glad we have that recorded.
That was a good one.
Can you post this on the Twitter?
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch this.
That was a good one.
Yeah, because you
My
can also
big
do
M's look like my little M's. They're
Yeah.
just bigger.
No, she went back.
Don't go.
Oh, okay, good.
You just haven't heard it.
I heard it in the beginning. Maybe it's some like brown out.
That's not what I was thinking about. I wrote it down. About Shabbat. No, it was here. The song said, "I see you in a starry field." That was the chorus. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, stop singing.
Yeah, I thought he was there.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, Allie, your damn song.
Yeah.
The problem with these is I always forget I have to do multiple things. And I write so big, I take up.
So you run out of space and then you're,
Where'd you get 88?
Corey, do your big M's
oh,
look like your little
it's
M's?
supposed to be 85.
Oh,
Cameron, do your big ends look like your little ends except they're just bigger?
No, but my little
Okay.
C's look just like my big C's except they're bigger.
I don't like the ends.
Wait, other way around.
These are supposed to look the same.
O's are
That's
supposed
why it
to
has
look
to
the
be
same.
like
Okay,
Some
but
people
what
go
we're
like
saying,
this.
yeah, but what we're saying is that it was
Like
just funny because
here.
it's like the big M.
I see. I can't even make an M like that. That's just
Why?
ugly.
That looks better than mine.
Oh my god, Ellen. Too bad I counted it out for
Okay, what did you guys get for M?
79.7.
79.7.
Okay, and from here, since we're out of time, we're okay to finish with log signs?
Yeah.
So it would be sine of 79.7 over 20.
In this case, if you live in our heads, you got this.
Okay.
You know what you meant. He was like, it's so Van Dagobert, gone with the wind. Whoa, what is I love when you talk about it. It's so fun.
You like it?
And we get a pop.
I'm gonna hang it on the wall.
No, gone with the wind.
No one else understands that joke.
He's never gotten it. He's laughing.
All right, guys. So
How do I square root my previous answer?
Back to clean one.
Yeah, I got 56 for my previous answer, and then I got 78.5.
Which one?
did you get 56.8 for
Yeah, and then I got
For which one though?
for N?
43.5.
And what did you get for L?
Like 43.
Anybody?
43.5.
Look at your pencil.
43.5.
Yay.
In this case, if look,